All right, what a way to start the day, huh? So welcome to Woodcrest. Good morning. All right, thank you. My name's Marilee Bomar, and I volunteer here with the coffee group, and we could always use more help, by the way. And most recently, we launched Prime Timers, and I'll give you an update on that in a moment. So earlier, while I was getting ready to do this, I saw these interesting things over here to my left, your right, and I was like, I think I want to go join them. They've got all kinds of fun things over here, and this is the youth, and we're asking that if the youth and their families during our welcome to each other in the 60 seconds want to come over and join them, please do. They've got fun things, and I may be over there. So, speaking of that, we are going to do our 60 seconds, and that means that we want you to take just a minute to say hi to the people around you, and to also step out of your comfort zone and meet somebody new. So our 60 seconds is going to start now. Okay, if you want to make your way back to your seats, please. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate you doing that. I know for a few it's stepping out, but we appreciate it. So last week we kicked off our Prime Timers, and we were over in the gym. And we had a game, we had treats, and we even gave away a few prizes. So it was lots of fun, and we have some upcoming events. And so I have this bright green flyer that, oh boy, we're gonna get some ball going over here. I knew I'd be like, fly. We even have a really nice flyer up front, and I'll be out there after the service because I've got a few photos to hand back to people that were kind enough to help us play the game. But the flyer has our 2 upcoming events on it, and so we'd really like to encourage you, if you're a Prime Timer, please come and join us. We are going to have some fun as we get things going. So, hey, today, after the service, there's a couple things going on. The monthly luncheon will be over in the gym, and I was over there, and there is spaghetti, and it smells wonderful. Plus, the other thing is there's some great-looking desserts over there, so don't forget, luncheon. Uh-oh, they're going to be distracting over here. Good luck, Matt. The other thing is we're doing the Woodcrest directory for our photos. Joni's going to give us some further details about where to go about this after the service, but please don't leave without getting your photo taken. We really want to do that. So in a moment, Matt is going to come and join us, and he's going to continue the series on Restory. But first, let's stand and worship along with our amazing band. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
so much for singing with us. You can be seated.
Morning. So there's this author I love. I won't say who it is in case you hate that author. But he has in at least 2 of his books this line. It's that young people will never be old. And what he means, and it's partly true, is that you're young. You're fit. You know everything. The world is on a string. And then one day it just happens. You're like going up the stairs and you start breathing heavier. You start realizing how little you know and understand. You just have gone and got old. Now all of a sudden you feel like you're the one on the string. And for me, I'm kind of an old soul. I've known this for a bit, but it became so clear the other day. Like I had my clearest moment of this ever. So I heard this news story. I was listening to it, and it's about AMC theaters. In a movie theater, they're going to start charging for the good seats. Like they charge for all the seats anyway, but now they're going to start charging if you want to sit in the middle. Those seats are going to be like premium seats. They're going to cost a little bit more, and the ones on the fringes will be less expensive, but no, still expensive. And it costs so much. And I had this response, and I said it out loud. It was a response, but as soon as I said it out loud, my back just started hurting real bad. And without me knowing it, I like shuffled out on my lawn, and I was like checking the perimeter for rapscallions or moles, both bodily and lawn. And here's what I said. This is what I said out loud to prompt this aging. We used to have a dollar theater in my town back in my day. And I was just going to say the dollar thing, and then the back in my day came out. I was like, oh no. As soon as you say back in the day, it's over. And truly, I said it. I went from Matt to Methuselah, like in 1 second. But it's true. We had this big old auditorium, sort of like this. It was a place where they would do like plays and musicals. And then I guess they couldn't make money because no one goes to see plays and musicals. So they just put a big screen in it, put some speakers, and then it became a movie theater that cost $1. $1. $1. Each time I say it, it's like I aged 35 years. We used to walk up hills both ways in the snow and slap our dollar coin on the counter and watch some moving pictures. And then when they became color, we'd wrap around our heads to offset the glare. That's what it feels like, but it was true, and I loved that place so much. I'll tell you this about the dollar theater. It had the stickiest floors on earth. Like seriously, you would wear 2 pairs of socks because there's a good likelihood that one of your shoes was coming off, maybe both, and you needed some coverage. And unless you had a crowbar, once that sucker was on the floor, you weren't getting it back. And the reason I think the floors were so sticky is because it cost $1. $1. $1. And so you had all this disposable income. You'd go to the concession stand, and they'd say, do you want butter popcorn or not? And you're like, just give me a bucket of both. Thank you. You get a soda, and you just pour one out, and they'd be like, there's no free refills. Be like, I know, fill it back up. And so the floors were just so sticky. You just buy stuff simply because you could, because it was so affordable. And so we would go a lot because it cost $1. $1. $1. We would go just to watch the blank screen for the deal's sake, which meant we saw some good movies, but we also saw some really bad movies. I remember going to one of those really bad movies I didn't know at the time. I was like 11, and walking out of there, I looked at my dad and said, Dad'll probably win some awards, huh? And his cynical Australian accent came back at me. He goes, no, it was bloody terrible. And then we walked home shoeless. Many movies I saw in that decrepit old dollar theater shaped my life, because this is what happens as a young person. Be careful, people in the youth, be careful, this is going to happen to you. What happens as a young person is you have this film or this movie, maybe it's a book, that you just love. And then you talk about it forever, how it's so great. And then you go on a date and show it to the person you're dating. And like 3 minutes in, you know, oh, it's bloody terrible. This movie that I've based my life on in some ways, this movie I've talked about for decades, it's not any good. We all have these things we watched when we were young, and we swear by them, and then later we grow up and we look back at them, and it's like we have to pretend it was a big joke. Like this Batman and Robin tattoo on my back, that was totally a ruse. It was part of the game. I was trying to trick people. And it made me start thinking this week, can the opposite happen? So we have these things in our youth that we really love, and then we revisit them, and they don't hold up. They're too simple, or maybe they're sinister. They just don't make it. But can the opposite happen? Maybe something we overlooked in our youth. We didn't think it was that good a story, and then we come back to it later. Or maybe we love the story, but then when we come later, there's just so much more to it. Once the idealism and naivety of youth has stayed stuck on the sticky floor, we older come to this story, revisit it, and we take the old VHS tape, blow the tape off of it, the dust off of it, put it in the player, hit play, and we're moved. It isn't worth $1, but a veritable treasure because it's deeper, it's truer, it's chock full of merit and meaning. It moves us forward in some metaphysical manner. We walk away better because of it. And that's what we come to today. A felt board story from our dollar theater youth. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's a Sunday school banger, a greatest hit. Here's the spoiler alert if you haven't gotten to it. Well, it's been thousands of years. Okay, you should have. Here's the spoiler. Some guys get chucked in a furnace. And in our youth, when we're 6, we say, wow, that should win some awards. But then we forget it, and we move on into adulthood, into wisdom, into whatever. And we leave it behind like stale popcorn, and in walking away, we miss a bunch. We miss so much. It's like thinking that Harry Potter is about flying on broomsticks, or that Animal Farm is about talking pigs, or that pretending that true love is what happens on a Saturday wedding and not on a 7-day cycle till death parts it. No, it's best to have a look deeper. It's best to arrive early and stay for the credits, to witness an artist who restories the world and our lives by gazing at each anguished, purposed brushstroke of the picture he's painting. So in order to do that, let's go back so that we can go forward. Once upon a time, there are these guys that got chucked in a furnace. But before they get chucked in a furnace, there's this tale that happens, and it's a tale as old as time. There's a leader who forgets. There's a nation that is adrift. Let me just summarize this so we get the context. This is how life works. This is like Life 101. Here we go. There's this person, and the person becomes a bit bored. They want to play, they want to dream, fight, love, and then they realize all of that is better with someone else. That we're better together. This goes all the way back to Genesis 2, where it says it's not good for a person to be alone. And then I think about 2005, Jack Johnson had this hit that's called Better Together. There's nothing new under the sun. For millennia, eons, ages, it's always better if people are together, so people get together. And in this scenario, the person is bored, he goes and finds someone else, she goes and finds someone else. Sometimes it's friendship, sometimes it's marriage, but two become one in a way. And then what happens to them? They become a bit bored, or hungry, or cold. And they want to play, dream, fight, love, so they go find others. And then these people form a group, and then that group forms a neighborhood, and then that neighborhood becomes a town, that town becomes a city, that city becomes a nation. It's the birth of a nation. Jean-Jacques Rousseau is a philosopher. He said this, that as soon as a human puts a stake in the land and calls it his, that is the formation of the state. And he didn't like this at all. He was anti-state, but no one cared. No one is wearing like WWJJRD little bracelets, all right? What would Jean-Jacques do? First, he should change his name. It sounds pretentious. No one cares. He can say it's not good, we shouldn't do it, but we do it every time on repeat. It's always going to happen. Person becomes people, becomes community, becomes group, becomes nation. It just happens. Persons make people who make communities, who make nations. This land is your land. This land is my land. Now what? Well, the what that follows is the story. We talked about it a few weeks ago when we introduced this series, that there's this story arc of the Bible. It's also the story arc of every person. And what it is creation, fall, redemption, arrival. And it's the same for a nation. Creation, what is that? The Declaration of Independence, right? A nation is formed. We declare it. What is fall? Like in Rome. Oh no, the Visigoths, they're coming. Here comes the fall. And then redemption is interesting at the national level because it can happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen because we don't want it. You think about in American history, like abolishing slavery. That was an opportunity for redemption, to take a thing that's wrong and taking us on a terrible trajectory and getting rid of it and eradicating it. We're still paying the tab for it, but at least we were redeemed in a way. And then arrival happens. For a nation, they're going to end up in a good spot or a bad spot based on what they do with that redemption. And that's what brings us to the story of the guys getting thrown into the furnace. It's Daniel 3. That pattern has happened. And that pattern that I just described has led to a nation empire called Babylon. A couple things about Babylon. First thing about Babylon is it was a real place. Some of you out here are like, yeah, I believe the Bible. Some of you are like, I don't believe anything in the Bible. Well, you don't have to believe in the virgin birth, Jesus. You don't have to believe in all that stuff, but you better believe in Babylon. It's historical. You can find it in all kinds of thousands of things. Archaeology, Babylon was a real place. It was real. And that's the thing, when you come to the Bible, don't come to the Bible and be like, I don't believe any of it. You're a fool if you don't. There's some stuff you just have to believe. Now, hopefully you end up believing more and more as you read, but Babylon, it's real. Second thing about Babylon is it's a real type, which means it's the same place called by a different name over and over and over and over. There hasn't been one Babylon. There's been thousands of Babylons. Babylon is an archetype. What the Bible would call this section, and you don't need to remember this, it's not that important. To some of you, you'll like it, some of you won't. Typical prophetic, which means it's a representative of a reoccurring story pattern. If you understand the story of Babylon, guess what? You're going to understand the story of the United States, the story of Great Britain, the Byzantine Empire, the Roman Empire, the Grecian Empire, whatever. If we take this in a different term so it's easier to understand, I could use Sherlock Holmes. I'll go somewhere younger, especially because the youth were here bouncing a ball. Katniss Everdeen. You all know Katniss Everdeen? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's the feature character in this book series called The Hunger Games, and then became movies. Katniss Everdeen became a type, but she also followed a type. She was the quest character. Any kind of quest movie or book, they followed the same sort of thing. You always have a strong central character who's somewhat independent. They have to get stripped from home somehow. They become orphaned, or they have to leave, or they get elected to some kind of Hunger Game thing. They have to leave home, and then they're specially skilled, and then they go on a quest that's bigger than they are. That's what happens with Katniss Everdeen. That's what happens with Harry Potter. That's what happens with Bilbo Baggins. That's what happens with Christian from Pilgrim's Progress. That's what happens to Don Quixote, who is a farcical type, but is following this archetype of quest. And that's what Babylon is at the national level. It's this archetype that every other nation follows. The Bible does this thing throughout it, okay? It does this thing where there's these two types of cities. There's the city of man, and then there's the city of God. The city of God is typified by it's coming under God's sovereign rule. It's how things are supposed to go. It's the ideal city. And then it'll put names to the city of God sometimes. It'll be Zion, it'll be Jerusalem, it'll be heaven or new heavens or new earth. It's how it's supposed to be, streets paved with gold, all of that. City of man is how it is. And the synonym for city of man throughout the Bible is Babylon. Babylon is the picture. Every nation will follow the path of Babylon. So when we come to Daniel 3, we're coming to a galaxy far, far away, but it should sort of feel like home. This is supremely relevant. It's not just some guys getting chucked on. I don't even have a furnace. That's not what we're talking about here. It's a nation like our nation, a world like our world. So we have this felt board story, but wait, there's more. There's also a prediction. And we can take the prediction again from our friend Jimi Hendrix, who has this great line in one of his songs that says, castles made of sand will fall into the sea eventually. So it's not just about Babylon. It's about Babylon falling into the sea. So how does this happen? How does a nation as strong as Babylon, as strong as the United States, as strong as Great Britain, Byzantines, Ottomans, anyone, how do they fall? Well, that's what we're going to get a picture of. So we come to Daniel chapter 3, verse 1. It says this, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image. Say that word with me. Say image. Go ahead. Let's say it again. That was so quiet. Say again, image. Remember that terrible show, Pee-wee's Playhouse? They had the word of the day. Image is the word of the day. We're going to say image a lot today. Every time we do, it's a wake-up call, because some of you are like, what is he talking about? And then you hear image, wake up. Okay. So he made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. It's quite a bit there, actually. First of all, Bible translators are lazy. It's like they get paid a whole bunch of money to take these like hard text and then get them into the right language, voice them into English, and then they use things like cubits. I'm like, what's a cubit? Thank you. I don't do things in cubits, like inches, yard. Can you give it to me in cubits? Like, what's a cubit? Luckily, I'm spatially intelligent, so I can help you. The way I do like spatial intelligence is this. I size everything up based on the height of a basketball goal. And so if I was on this floor and I look at the ceiling, I kind of get my knees into it, I can tell you that this ceiling is definitely higher than a basketball goal. We know that. I'm like certain of it, like 80% sure. If we were really going to measure it, and again, this isn't my strong suit, but if I stack basketball goals, I don't know, maybe it's like 2.5, maybe 3 basketball goals high. This would actually be a great Bible translation, the March Madness edition, where like Goliath was almost the size of a full basketball goal. David was half a hoop or something. It'd be a great translation. Anyway. Okay, so how high are we talking about? What is this, the cubits thing that they're talking about? 60 cubits high? That's 9 basketball goals high. We're talking 90 feet. So that's big. That's a big old statue is what's going on. Thing's huge. And then we get our main character here. It's Nebuchadnezzar. That's his name. Like Alexander the Great's rule, like if a bard came and played him a song and was playing You Can Call Me Al, Alexander the Great would be like, I like that, Paul, play it again. You wouldn't do that with Nebuchadnezzar. You can't call him Neb. This is a guy who doesn't want nicknames. This is a guy whose name is lofty. He is a god of his own making. He doesn't mess around. You'll see that. He's a violent dude. He thinks the world of himself. He's a big shot. And what he's doing here, we have the statue it talks about. Well, he's flexing. This is supremely common in the ancient world. There's these 7 wonders of the ancient world. They're really famous, and almost all of them are cultural flexes. It's not like a waterfall. That's what we do now with our wonders of the world. It's stuff that people built to say that our place is the best. And so if he's the god of this place, if they have the best statue, it means he's the best god. That's what he's doing by trying to build this thing. Like there's this one that's famous in the ancient world. It's called the Colossus of Rhodes. We got a picture of the Colossus of Rhodes. You can see it there. That's one depiction. That's actually the good one. I didn't know which one they picked. That's the nude one. Yeah. And actually, they have another version of this where he strides between the waterway and the ships go underneath him and be like, don't look up. Like, what kind of a view is that? Like, why would we do that? Put a loincloth on the guy. Anyway, Colossus of Rhodes was huge. It took 12 years to make, and then it fell in 60 years. Can you imagine working on something for 12 years and then it falls in 60? I get mad when the Jenga tower falls. It took me 30 seconds to stack it, and 5 minutes later it falls. I'm like cussing. If I worked on something 12 years, it should last, but it doesn't. The Colossus of Rhodes falls. All these ancient wonders, they fall. Now, luckily, we're like enlightened. We don't do this stuff anymore. We don't. Ooh. Well, that's a gift. Like, that's from France. We had to put that up there. That's Lincoln. Like, Lincoln's like, okay, so we do this. Why do we do this? Type. You can say, oh, we're not like Babylon at all. We do the same thing. So does every culture. I'm not saying we shouldn't. Don't take from this message, he said we shouldn't do American things. No. I'm saying is everyone does American things because they're Babylonian things. We all do this since the beginning of time. Statues, flags, symbols. And they're not bad necessarily. What they are type, right? We're following Babylon. It's a type. We're going to see these things repeated over and over. So we get this first verse, and it's interesting what we don't know. What we don't know is what the statue is. It doesn't say what it's of. What we do know is important, though. What we know is why it's there and what it's made of. And the reason I say that's important, we got to jump back. I know you hate when people jump forward and jump back, but just stay with me. Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And in this dream, he dreams of a statue. And the statue has a gold head that's beautiful. And the gold head is Babylon, he comes to find out. But then the statue has this body of silver, bronze, and iron. And what silver, bronze, and iron, he comes to find out through this guy named Daniel who tells him about this dream, those are other kingdoms that are going to take the place of Babylon. And he hears that part and he's like, pump the brakes. And then we come to the next chapter, chapter 3, and that's why he's building the statue. Because he hears about these kingdoms that are coming, and he's like, there is no kingdom but Babylon, and I'm going to prove it. Notice what the statue's made of. There's no iron, there's no silver, there's no bronze. Gold, baby, gold. That's Babylon. This whole thing's going to be 90 feet of gold because Babylon's bigger, better, and greater. Babylon will never fade. Babylon will stand forever. You know who else has said that? Every empire ever. You know who's been right? None of them. None of them. So he's like, all gold, all Babylon, I'm going to build this thing. No one's going to stop me. Look how powerful we are. And then we come to verses 2 through 6. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials. When the Bible's super annoying like that, and it repeats something a whole bunch, it's a literary device, and it's telling you they're all there. That's all it's trying to do. It's trying to be heavy-handed so you realize, hey, everyone's there. To come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So all the king's horses and all the king's men, they assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, nations and peoples of every language, this is what you're commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of another annoying list, horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, basically any sound you hear, you're going to fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Here's what we need to take from that. There's a few things to think about. Here's one thing we need to take from that. This is no longer a statue. You get what has happened? Like the Lincoln Memorial is great. Lincoln Memorial's there. It's dangerous when the government says you must take a pilgrimage to the Lincoln Memorial and bow down before it. You must worship the Lamb. This is now a God. You get that? It's shifted, and it's a deity now. There's this guy named Voltaire. Voltaire would be a terrible dinner guest. He's like really mean. He was like really smart, but also really mean. He was so mean, in fact, that Mozart found out about his death and wrote a letter to his dad that said something along the lines of, "The scoundrel is dead." And Mozart was pretty nice. And he's like, ugh, Voltaire. But Voltaire hated religion, especially Christianity. He hated it, but he has this profound quote that kind of is around it. It says this: "If there was no God, man would have to create one." How profound is that? If there is no God, this is a theory that some people have, and I'm going to offend a few of you in here that would ascribe as this, that are atheists. Some people say there are no atheists. You can't be an atheist. Voltaire would say he was an atheist, but he can't be an atheist because there's always going to be someone on the throne, something on the throne. You think about how we remove God. Well, what do? We just sit something new on the throne. The God of self, the God of sex, the God of might, the God of intellect, the God of stuff. There's a theologian who said the heart is an idol factory. We're just always producing new idols. And nations do this too, right? All nations are gatherings of people. So the heart echo of a bunch of people together are going to be the national echo, and they're going to create idols as well. National idols. We've seen this a number of times. One example is in the 20th century, communism got a real good run. And communism still exists, and there's still people trying communism, but communism got a nice run in the 20th century. And Animal Farm, which I referenced earlier, is kind of this rebuttal of communism, where these talking animals are representing kind of communistic ideals. And the first thing communism does is they go and they topple all the gods and take all the gods out because the state becomes gods. Here's what the pigs do. They create like these rules to live by, and the rules are this: all animals are created equal. And you know what their second rule becomes? But pigs are more equal. And that's what happens. Communism comes and it sweeps over, and the state is now the god. And then what happens? The throne is empty, and who gets to sit on the throne? Well, who's running the state? And that's why we still haven't found all the bodies. If the person running the state's a good person, we're okay. But if they're corrupt, look out, because they're a god now. What about the German Empire? German Empire happened a couple times. It was really short-lived both times for ambition's sake. But the second time around, it was under a guy named Hitler. You might have heard of him. And Hitler was so saddened because he would have council meetings when they were starting, and they're like, what are we going to do about religion? We're stuck with Christianity. They want to remove Christianity. They're like, then there people won't trust us if we topple all the cathedrals, take down all the crosses. We have to leave it. But what we need to do is twist it. All this grace, that won't play. Mercy, no. We got to get rid of a bunch of the chosen people of God being from Israel. That won't work with what we're trying to do. We have to change a lot of it. We have to twist it. And what they did is they made this Frankenstein's monster and called it Christianity. It wasn't Christianity at all. It was this totalitarian machination. That's what we march out there. What about our age? Have we punted God? Come on. We've been called the post-truth age. We're actually the post-truth. We're like the post-Malone truth age. Like we are so far removed from deity. We just are. Or we're not, because we have new ones, right? The God of self. The God of expression. Why do you think we do what we do on social media? Self-expression is a God to us. What about authenticity? That's a funny one. We worship authenticity, but it's weird that some people are defining for me what is authentic and what isn't. If I want to follow a big institution, that's not my authentic self. The only way to be authentic is to break away from that big institution. It's like, well, who's defining what authenticity is for me? Someone is. What about morality? We love morality. How many times you read an article that is calling someone out for giving to a cause that actually gave to a different cause 17 years ago, and then that other cause that they gave to killed a whale at some point in history. And so now you can't give the... We love morality. We twist ourselves up with morality. What about judgment? We love judgment. We have the God of judgment. Get on Twitter if you don't believe me. We love judging things. We're doing it right now. You're judging this talk. Like, what's he even talking about? Why is he going? Why does he talk so fast? Blah, judgment, judgment, judgment. I'm going to post about this. We love tolerance, the God of tolerance, which is wildly intolerant of some things that it's not tolerant of. Like it sets up furnaces for things that go against the tolerance, which feels intolerant. But it's a God. It's one of our new gods. How does this happen, and why does it happen all the time? How do statues and idols rise up as gods? Well, Daniel 3 shows us. We read Daniel 3, and we just blow right through it. Again, they don't put this up in Sunday school. But it's all right there. The first thing we'll notice with Daniel 3 is this, that aesthetics matter. That God had to be pleasing to the eye, that statue. We don't know what it was, but I can tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't like a 90-foot high pile of dung, right? It wasn't a muskrat. It was a lion or a dragon. Or like if they made it Nebuchadnezzar and made it a man, which is kind of likely, do you think they're like, hey, let's make him a little uglier. Cross his eyes a bit more. Too muscular. No. They made him an alpha man if they made him a man. They had to make him beautiful. And then what was he made of? Gold. Value. It had to be something substantial because there's always a visual component. You think about our culture. How about our celebrity culture? You think of an ugly celebrity. I was doing this week. I was trying to think of ugly celebrities. I'm not going to say it. It's mean. But then like the ugly celebrities I was coming up with, like John Cusack, he would be the best looking guy at Walmart. I'm sorry if John Cusack's here. You're delightful. You're like a solid 6. He would be the best looking guy in this room. But because we have the celebrity, I was watching Wheel of Fortune. It's like Pat Sajak's hair just keeps getting blonder. He has to if he's going to be a celebrity. We lift these gods up, and we have to have a visual component that if one of them has something wrong physically, guess what they don't get? Movie roles, hosting roles, followers. There's a visual component to this. Even our ugly celebrities are made as beautiful as possible through as many enhancements as we can do. This gave me the thought of plastic surgery. And I don't have like a strong stance. This isn't about plastic surgery. So you're sitting there like, I have plastic surgery. I'm not judging you. I don't care. But what I was thinking about is how it's a multi-billion-dollar industry now. And then what does the plastic do? It holds some things up. Using chest, rear end, face. It's propping some stuff up that would ever otherwise lay lifeless. Isn't that what Nebuchadnezzar is doing here? Isn't that what every idol is, every god is? It has to be propped up by something. It cannot stand on its own. There's a visual component when we bow to a god. Second thing we notice with this is there's music. They're going to play some sounds. Hitler was asked this question when he came into power. What is the role of music in politics? You know what his answer was? Music is politics. Politics is music. And when he came into power, one of the first things he did was ban all art by Jews. No Jewish music. If it was linked in any way to a Jew, it can't be played. And then he went after the Christian songs. We can't have any Christian songs with grace and mercy and love at the centerpiece. So if Amazing Grace existed then, it wouldn't have been played in Germany. Onward Christian Soldier probably would have made the cut. That's how he chose. And then he did this outlandish thing. He banned jazz. Didn't really have a reason for that one. But I just thought it was hilarious. Picturing Adolf Hitler going into a jazz club for the first time to feel what jazz was like. He does a secret knock and they let him in and then they start playing jazz. He's like, plays the right notes. That's probably when he started yelling. That's when he became a maniac right there. It's like jazz made him so mad. Like, oh, Hitler, so intolerable. What he would do though is Wagner. So Wagner had these big sweeping musical overtures and he'd make people sit in a room like this and watch Wagner and they put stuff on screens and have people marching and have swastikas and bloodshed and all this stuff. Why? To evoke the emotions. He wanted to get emotions going. Visual, splendor, music, it plays on emotions. Now, let me just say this, emotions matter greatly. Even here, we just had lights going. Did you see the lights? We just played music. We have really ridiculously good-looking reoccurring guest speakers. I mean, we do this. We play into the visuals. Here's the thing about emotions, though. Emotions are good, but emotions must tie to something. I thought about my kid this weekend. He was having this fit. He couldn't get his emotions under control. And I was like, why are you crying? I don't even know. He's just whipped into this frenzy, this fervor, because a child can be whipped into a fervor. You all know this. Guess what? Adults can be too. Watch the Grammys. Watch some of our shows. Watch what, and it's like, why are we whipped into this frenzy? I don't even know, but now I'm in it too, and I'm dancing, and you just get caught up. What we've proved prone to is taking a maniac urge and then tying up his neck so that we can control it. But then we get tired of holding that other end of the rope and don't know what to do with it, so we tie it to his waist, and then we're surprised that he runs wild. We see this in our art. We see this in our concerts. We see this in our church services. That we are prone to religious fervor, even if that religion is secular. But we better make sure when the emotions get ratcheted up that it's tied to something of substance. Do you get that? It's got to tie to something. So we have the visual component. We have this audio component. We have this stuff working together to get people kind of to bow down to this thing. The other thing that we have at bay is a power component. If you do not bow, you will get thrown into the furnace. Does that happen today? Are there any repercussions for not marching to the cultural zeitgeist? The cultural drumbeat? Can you think of any? Of course you can. Typico-prophetic. It's always happening in every civilization. There's been things that don't make any sense. But if you don't march to them, you get thrown in a furnace. Well, you have to ask here today, and you can have any answer you want. I'm not telling you what your answer has to be. Does God win or not? And if you're like, no, he doesn't, then bow. Bow to whatever. It's okay. If you're honestly like, God doesn't win. But if you answer yes, that God does win, live wisely in accord with his victory. So Daniel 3, verse 7, the music plays, and they bow down. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all that jazz, the nations and people of every language fall down. They fall down. They either believe it or they're scared. Either way, what we do determines, and what we bow to determines who we are and who we become. And when we give the gods power, this is what happens in our life. Whatever God you give power to, you know what that God does? Takes it gladly and takes us as well. The gods you bow to will become the gods of your life. And we continue on in verse 7. Every language they fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. There's that word again, image, image, image. Say it again, because some of you are sleeping. Say it. Image. Now someone who was sleeping is like, why are they yelling? And it woke them up. Image. I think every heart, every person hungers for a great light. They hunger for a statue. They hunger for a strong king. You think about the church in our Western world. We know what the playbook is. Get the best show in town and get the best leader in town. Because these are the things that will bring a crowd, and these are the things that will bow the crowd. And then someone's in the back being like, what about the role of the Holy Spirit? And they're like, that's cute. Play the zither. Bow. That's all we care about, is that a bunch of people are there bowing. And what it is, it's an image. It's an idol. You're not bowing to the right thing. You're just bowing to a thing. Exodus has something to say about this. Exodus 20 is 10 commandments. Here we go. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on earth beneath it. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. So that's a 10 commandment. It's very important to God. He puts it into the list of 10. But do you ever ask why? Why can't we make an image? I'm going to give you a couple reasons. The reason I'm going to give you both is because it's only $1. Here we go. Genesis 1 is the first one. Genesis 1:26. Then God said, let us make mankind in our... Oh, there's that word again. In our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish and the birds, rule over everything. 27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God has already made the images of himself. It's you. It's me. God's the image maker. This is where he's establishing roles. He's like, I'll be the one who makes the image. You'll be the one who bear the image. We have our roles. And when we get out of that function, we're breaking down the role of cosmic, how God has set things up in order. When we make images, we are becoming God, doing his thing, replacing him. He's the creator. We are his image bearers. We are the creatures that bear God's image. This was the original sin. It wasn't that Adam and Eve ate a pear or something. That wasn't it. It's like, don't eat fruit. That wasn't the message. The message was they took that to cut out the middle deity. So God's like, I'll give you life. I'll give you breath. I'll give you movement. I'll give you love. I'll give you everything you need. They're like, well, if we could just get that ourselves, we wouldn't have to call you up every time. If I could just cook, I wouldn't need room service. Teach a man to fish, God. We'll take the pear. They're cutting God out. And then they are people, and then they become a group, and then they become a neighborhood, and then a city, and then a nation. And then as this nation, there's this nation that's like, God says he's our way to heaven. Well, what if we just build this really awesome city ourselves? What if we build this huge tower that goes to heaven? We can bring heaven down. Then we won't need God anymore. And God thwarts that. But you know what it was called? The Tower of Babel. What's the city we're looking at now called? Babylon. It takes its name from Babel, the city of man, where person, people, nation cut God out. This is the story of the whole Old Testament. It's this story again and again. This is the story of the human struggle, that God frees people and they forget God. That God restores people and they opt for some formulaic fall. That God redeems people and those people promise to be good till bedtime, but then call you tootie pants when you leave to give a speech at church. That one got personal. And the reason it gets personal is this. That was my house today. That's my house every day. And that's your house too. That this is not something that happened way back when. This is something that happens on like a Tuesday. It's the quest line that we walk together. That we today, on this very day, not Adam and Eve, you are an image bearer. And you're probably failing at bearing God's image well. It's like a funhouse mirror. It's not quite accurate of how God is and who God is. That's likely we feel that and why we yearn for a superhero, a king, a statue, a senior lead teaching pastor with frosted tips and 6 podcasts. We yearn for the proper image. Where are the improper images? Give us one. Give us an image. Give us an image. Give us an image. And God's like, these stiff-necked children, they're missing the story. They're missing the beauty. But then God is also like love. He should just crush us and start over. If you meet God at a wedding reception, you're like, hey, I'm Matt. Who are you? And he's like, I'm God, but some people call me love. And I'm like, oh, why do they call you love? He says, because I sort of make it and give it abundantly. I'm like, cool. My kids call me Tootie Pants for similar reasons. God is love. That's it. And in that love, he does this crazy thing. From that love, in that love, he gives us Jesus. Now, this is the best part. This is the best part. If you've been zoned out, you're like, what are we even talking about? We're talking about this. Listen how Paul describes Jesus. Colossians 1:15. The Son, Jesus, is the image. He's the image. Why don't we bow to images? Why don't we need images? Why don't we bow to statues? We don't need them because we have it. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and earth, visible, invisible, thrones, powers, rulers, authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He's before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he's the head of the body. Remember Daniel 2? What was the head? The golden head? Oh, it was Babylon. And God's like, no. What's the statue? The statue? No, we don't need a statue. He's the head. The church, he's the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. That first verse over again. The Son is the image of the invisible God. So image-wise, we're good. We don't need images. We are golden. We don't need golden statues. We don't need celebrities. We don't need keynote speakers and great pastors and all these people that we can bow down before. We don't need it. We've been given the image of the invisible God to bow down before. The yearning for us should stop in Christ. We don't need to yearn for that anymore. So when some king presents the thing to us, an idea that was like, ooh, this is going to save us all. No, we've already been given the image. The perfect image. I love that about the old dollar theater I used to go to. There was one screen in that joint. There was no theater 8 on your left. No. You walk in and it was just one screen. You had one choice. That was it. And when we get whipped up by a bunch of fanfare and pizzazz and we take our eyes off the main thing, we miss the love story of all the world. We miss it. We miss what we're there for. And speaking of missing it, some of you are like, we're going to miss lunch. You haven't even gotten those boys in the furnace yet. Checking your watch, we haven't even been introduced to these guys. And this is what would happen in the dollar theater sometimes. You'd be watching and you'd be like, this is great, or maybe this isn't great. There's some gaps. What's going on? And then you'd be told, oh, this is part 1 of a sequel. So next week we're having a sequel. So come back. You're going to see how things play out for these boys. Once they rise up in a culture that's going against God, bowing down to something other than this, they don't care about the image of the invisible God. What happens? Is that you? We're going to find out what happens. And bring someone if you want. But if you bring them, they miss part 1. So they could go watch it online better. You are God's ambassador. You just tell them, well, there's this nation, and they have a bunch of idols, and people are bowing down before it, and no one knows what to do. And that person's going to be like, that sounds like my Tuesday. Be like, well, come to my Sunday. Come with me. Let's hear how this goes. But instead of ending with a preview for next week, let's stop like a good dollar theater movie with a cliffhanger. Here's the cliffhanger. It's a question. When you're here in this room, do you watch me or do you watch the screens? There's not a right or wrong, and there's no judgment. I was just sitting out here last week, and I was watching Kelly speak about Joseph, and I kept going back and forth between screen, Kelly. I couldn't decide which one to watch, and I was like, what do you watch? And I don't care what your answer is. But here's what I want to point out. The truth is, this screen, that screen, it ain't me. It's an image of me, but it cannot play or dream or fight or love. It can't even walk outside the frame. It is a poor imitation of the real thing of me because it is lifeless. And so is every idol of our age. It is lifeless. It's a castle made of sand that will be thrown into the sea eventually. It'll be built in 12 years and it'll fall in 60. No, we need an image that lives, who walks with me and talks with me along life's narrow way. The image of the invisible God lives for you. He's the one you bow down to. So the challenge this week is to get your eyes off the screens, get your eyes off the images, and fix your eyes on the real thing, the main event.
Take this fainted heart. Take these tainted hands. Wash me in your love. Come like grace again. Even when my strength
Let's take a moment to pray. I will only sing your praise. God, that's what I want to believe that I can do, but I don't know if I can do it. There's so many distractions, things I think I need to keep me safe, to keep me good, to keep me happy. And I struggle not to make those the thing, to take a good thing and make it the ultimate thing and put it in place of you. And so, Lord, I know I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So, God, will you help us this week as we think about what we've heard and what we know? Only your love can overcome and fill those places in us. You tell us you are the author and perfecter of our faith. Help us to step into that and to believe that. In Jesus' name, amen. So this week, your challenge, kind of as Matt alluded to, is to think about that. I mean, we can hear a sermon like this and go, yeah, I don't think I have any images or idols. But maybe thinking about what is it that you think if you lost or you had to do without, you just couldn't do it. Again, it could be a good thing. And think about that this week. What do your thoughts go to? What do you spend your money on? What do you spend your time on? What do you think about the most? And then just take that before God and say, God, you fill those places. Because the first step is awareness. And I did that years ago with a book I read, and I have to confess I had lots of them, lots of things that I put in God's place and still do. So anyway, that is your challenge this week, not just to hear, but to do. All right, well, before we leave, I want to mention a couple of things. As Mary Lee said, the luncheon is right after, so just right across the hall. Everybody's welcome, so grab your kids, come on, let them run around, and we'll have a great time together. And don't forget to get your picture taken. So if for some reason you can't stay for the luncheon, just head on over to the gym. In the back corner, you'll see a setup where we're taking photos. So just run over there and get your photo taken. And then just kind of watch. If you're staying for the luncheon, you can go get your photo taken anytime, but do it before you leave, please. And then on your way out this morning, we'll have folks at the exits with buckets, and you can put your tithes and offerings in them as you leave. So we're going to have one last song. So I'm going to invite you to stand and to listen to the words and let this be your prayer with a backdrop of what we've heard today. So please stand.
Fullness of eternal promise, stirring in your sons and daughters, for joining us this weekend and singing with us. We'll see you next time.